Hi guys, welcome to video 3 for Algebra 1. We're going to keep going with equations. Today we're going to talk about equations that have variables on both sides of the equal sign. Okay? So the first thing we need to talk about is what that equal sign means. That means that whatever is on the left side of the equation or that equal sign is equal to or has the same value as whatever's on the right side of the equal sign. Okay? So while we're going through and trying to solve for our variable, because you're going to see instructions at the top of something like this that would say solve for x. Okay, so they give us an equation, 2x plus 3 equals 5x minus 2, and we want to solve for x. And because it tells us that whatever is over here is equal to whatever's over here, that means that we have to maintain or keep the balance of the equation the entire time. So whatever we do to one side, we have to also do to the other side, okay? That's also how we can move things back and forth because we're doing it to both sides. So the first step that I always tell you guys to do is to first decide which side you want your variables on and which side you're gonna have your numbers on, okay? Because before we do any multiplying or dividing, we're going to add and subtract to move all of our like terms together, okay? So we have 2x and 5x, and we have 3 and negative 2. So I like to have my variables on the left, so that's where we're going to do it today, but it really doesn't matter. So that means my numbers on the right or on the left need to go over to the right side because I want all my variables on the left side, okay? So over here I have a positive 3. So remember that we're undoing what's being done to the x's in order to figure out what their value is. So right now, this 3 is being added to 2x. So to get it out of there and onto the other side, we do the inverse operation, right? So the inverse or opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. Okay, so that cancels this out over here. So now we just have our 2x. And we have a 5x because we cannot add and subtract unlike terms, so that negative 3 only applies to that negative 2. So now we have negative 2 minus 3. So here you need to remember your rules of integers, just like with our other equations. If I have negative 2 and I'm subtracting 3, that means I'm adding a negative, right? So negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. Okay? So now this is my new equation. And it's still balanced because what I did to the left, I also did to the right, okay? So now I want to get any variables that are left over here onto the left side because that's where I want my variables. So I have a 5x and it's positive. So the opposite of a positive 5x would be a negative 5x. So I'm going to subtract 5x from this side and subtract 5x from this side. That's going to cancel over here. Okay, let me get a new color so that it's easier to see. I lost my blue one. I'll just go back to black then. Sorry. Okay, so that means I just bring down my negative 5 over here because I canceled those out. Now I have 2x minus 5x. They're like terms, so I can add and subtract them. If I have 2 and I take away 5, that gives me a negative 3x. Okay, so now I have negative 3x equals negative 5. What do I do now? Well, I have to now continue to undo what's being done to the variable. So right now it's being multiplied by negative 3, so I'm going to divide by negative 3. Okay? So that cancels out that negative 3 on that side. Let me go back to my red. Okay, so now I just have my x over here. And over here I have negative 5 divided by negative 3 or negative 5/3. Okay, and that's an improper fraction. So I'm going to change it to negative 1 and 2/3. Okay, so x equals negative 1 and 2/3. Can you see that down there? So that's basically it, your step-by-step process. I will go through another one just in case you need it, and then I will put up your assignment because it's basically that. So we're just having equation or variables on both sides of our equation, and we're solving for that variable. Okay? Let me erase that and we will do one more. I'm using right now the variable x. X is not the only variable that you'll see. You'll see lots of you'll use any letter of the alphabet you can use. So for this one we will do s's. Okay? So we'll have 5 plus 14s equals 9s minus 5. Okay, so now we're solving for s. So the first thing that we do is choose what side we want our variables on and what side we want our numbers on, okay? So I'm gonna keep doing it the same way because that's, if it works, I like to keep it that way, okay? So I'm gonna have my variables be on the left and my numbers be on the right. So let's start with the variables this time. I want all my variables that are on the right side to move over to the left. So I have a positive 9s. The inverse operation of a positive 9s would be a negative 9s, right? So subtract 9s, subtract 9s. That's gonna cancel. Okay, over here I still have that 5. 14 minus 9 is 5. Okay, equals that negative 5 that's still over here. Okay, lots of 5s. So now I'm going to continue by getting all of my numbers that don't have variables to the right. So I have a positive 5 over here, and I'm going to subtract it. Okay, cancels over here. Negative 5 minus 5. Do not let this confuse you into thinking that the answer is 0, because 5 minus 5 would be 0. Negative 5 minus 5 is really going to be negative 10. Okay? And then we still have our 5s over here, so I'm going to bring that down. So 5s equals negative 10. So now I'm still unwrapping that variable. So I'm undoing what's being done to it. So that means I'm doing the inverse operations. So the inverse operation of this 5 being multiplied by the s would be division, right? So I divide by 5. Divide by 5. Those are two ways of showing division. This sign that you see a lot. And that fraction bar is also a division line, remember that? So that cancels it over here. Okay, so now I just have s equals 10 divided by 5, which is 2. Okay, so sometimes your variables are worth whole numbers, sometimes they come out to decimals or fractions, that's okay. Just remember to follow the step-by-step process, okay? So, now I will put up your assignment. Okay, grab a pencil, paper, write this down. A couple of tips for doing these equations. Get out your papers that have the integer rules on them for adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers. Also, your order of operations will help you in this a little bit because you kind of do it the opposite way, where we add and subtract first and then we multiply and divide. Okay, so get a piece of paper, write that down. And that is what you will either show me on Zoom on Friday, or you can take a picture and email it to me, and then you'll get your name in the drawing for the prizes on Friday. Okay, remember my office hours are Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. for math questions, and at 12 noon for social time. Okay, and if you have any questions, email me if you need any help, or you're not quite sure. If you need to go back and watch the video, go back and watch the video again to re-solidify those things in your brain, okay? Thanks, guys.